So I've already talked about the files and how it's deeper than just moving children around. It's worse than that, which is how can anything be worse than that, right? But I talked about DNA and I talked about consciousness and how Ghislaine Smepstein and Bill Gates, along with Steve Bannon and all the people who self-proclaim themselves as intelligent, but really they're just debaucherous and diabolical, and no one thought to be that diabolical or lack that much integrity before until then, but they think and then conflate it with intelligence. I digress. They put out this information, as much as a lot of people wanted to say they put out this information to disrupt your nervous system and your choroidal field and you need to ignore it. No, ignoring it is not the answer. Addressing truth is the answer. I've talked about that in another video, but I digress from that as well. They put out this information to jumpstart, okay? To jumpstart a timeline, because they had the means to never put out this information. They have an algorithm, okay, like Westworld, where they can essentially, and it's not predict the future because that algorithm is off right now. It's not deducing certain things, but they could have not brought up the Epstein crap. They have the means to postpone anyone finding out about the files for as long as they wanted to. They decided to put that shit out there. Why do you think that is? And I'm suggesting that it has everything to do with consciousness and the timeline. Understanding that if they put it out, that window in which the split will happen, essentially, the window of opportunity for things to change kind of gets smaller because it's been pushed. Do you understand? Like, this pushes it. If they push this information out, it causes a collective split, but the split kind of forces time to dwindle in terms of like the window we have in order to do something about it. Do you understand? This is about consciousness. It's always been about consciousness, and it's always been about your blood and how your blood and DNA is linked to your memories, and your memories is consciousness, and consciousness is linked to outside space and time, which is matter, and what's beyond matter. It's always been about that, especially to the interdimensional beings who are using, if you want to call Satanism, yes, they're using Satanism in order to fuel jumping into other timelines. But I digress. Putting out this information was a way of speeding up a timeline, is what I'm going to end with. CERN isn't working as well as they want it to. They're saying they're creating another Hadron Collider type of thing in Texas, but I'm going to suggest that that's been around for a while. And it doesn't really matter because they're only doing that because they assume that if they do it in America, they'll have better control over the consciousness and the collective consciousness of Americans. But it's not going to work. And I think they know that. They're just pulling anything out of their ass at this point. I digress. This information, like I said, has everything to do with jumping timelines and speeding up the window in which things can change.